Christmas came and football Christmas went, and I don't know how to feel about football Christmas. Because football Christmas got ruined a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Like when you were a kid, imagine, go back to your childhood. Close your eyes, unless you're driving your car, in which case don't close your eyes. Keep them open and on the road. But if you're not driving your car, all 5 of you that are not driving your car, close your eyes with me and go back in time to when you were a child on Christmas morning. Imagine if you were going back, your favorite Christmas, whatever Christmas it was that you got your favorite toy, right? Imagine with me now. You wake up in the morning at the unreasonable hour that all kids wake up in the morning at like 5 or whatever, and your parents tell you, go back to bed. And then you wake up again, and you run downstairs, and there's the Christmas tree, and there's all the boxes, and your parents are coming. They're coming downstairs slowly because they don't want to be awake, and you woke them up because you had to have these toys. And then you open up the box on Christmas morning, and all the toys were injured. That's what this is like. That's exactly what happened, okay? Because here is how I feel about this. When I watch a game and I come to find out that Deondre Francois is done for the year, and Jacob Eason, who may not be done for the year, but is certainly not going to be playing next week, has also suffered an injury, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm not entirely certain what to tell you. Now, a lot of good things also happened. Just generally in college football. There were some great games this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And there were also some stinkers that we thought were going to be great games. Weirdly, right? Like the games that we thought were going to be great wound up being stinkers. And some of the games that we thought were going to be stinkers wound up being great. So I'll talk about this in sort of the larger view of college football, and then we'll zoom into the SEC because we do have some great SEC storylines. I don't like that Jacob Eason got injured, but I am interested in the idea of Jake Fromm taking over and looking as young as you think he would look, but this Georgia team being talented enough to overcome his youth and inexperience. I like that. I like the Drew Lock just looks like a monster. He threw 7 touchdowns, so we'll talk about that. I have serious questions about Florida. Like all of the reasons why I did not want to pick Florida to win the East emerged. I just did not expect them to emerge literally week 1 of the college football season. Did not expect that to be a thing, but it is very, very much a thing, all of my questions about Florida. So we'll get into that part in the SEC segment a little bit later on, but right now we're just going to talk about the greater view of college football because I think a lot of really cool things happened. For instance, this USC Western Michigan game to me might have been one of my favorite games of the entire weekend. You had USC going up against Western Michigan, a school that they have no business playing around with, except, we got to the third quarter and the score was tied. They were just playing around with Western Michigan. And it was a close game. Now, USC flexed their muscles in the final however many minutes and pulled away, ending with a kick that was able to put the game on ice that was snapped by their long snapper, who is blind, right? So, already, if you could imagine just a sports story that you wouldn't believe, blind long snapper takes the cake. Because if you told me, there's going to be USC, they're going to be struggling against a school they need not be struggling against, and they're going to be able to overcome their struggles, and at the very end, the snapper is going to be blind. And I don't even know. I'm amazed by that idea. I'm amazed by the blind long snapper, whose name I've already forgotten because I'm bad with names. But I'm amazed by this guy because I don't even know how you begin to do that particular thing blind. Now, I already feel I'm fortunate, right? We're all lucky. When you talk about your life and the things that you're able to do in your life, a lot of this is hard work. A lot of this is persistence and skill. But some of it is lucky. And I'm lucky that I'm not blind. That's not something that I have had to overcome in my life. This guy has had to overcome this, and he's had to overcome it to do a thing that I would think personally you would need sight to do. To be a long snapper, first off, being a long snapper, A long snapper is one of the more underrated things on a football team. Because if you have a bad long snapper, your entire special teams operation is whack. The whole thing is just jacked up. This guy is blind. He's blind. I am infinitely impressed by this guy. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. How do you do that blind? He can't see. Long snapping for the game winner. Trojans over Western Michigan. So yeah, I liked that game a lot. That game had a storyline that I just thought, this is deeply fascinating, right? Now, when you watch some of these games qualify as preseason games. And when I say they qualify as preseason games, yes, they actually count on your record. And yes, you ought to win these games when you're playing them. But they qualify as preseason games because some of these teams are playing opponents who have no chance to play them, right? Clemson and Kent State. Clemson's playing Kent State, and that doesn't even look fair, right? Kent State scores 3 points in the whole game. Clemson scores 56, 21 in the first, 7 in the second, 21 in the third, 7 in the fourth. They literally had 3 touchdown quarters. I mean, Kent State didn't have a chance to hang with Clemson. But this game is a game that tells us 0 things about Clemson. We don't know. This doesn't tell us if they're good. This doesn't tell us if they're bad. I mean, the only thing that this tells us is, okay, Clemson is put in front of an opponent that they ought to smash, and they smashed them. Okay, that tells us nothing. Nothing new was learned in that game. And we had a few of those, right? We had Clemson versus Kent State, smashed Kent State. Penn State versus Akron, smashed Akron. Oklahoma versus UTEP, smashed UTEP by alarming scores that look like 56-7, 52-0, and 56-3. Right? So, I mean, those games are not interesting to me at all in the slightest. And when I was doing the preview, that's exactly how I thought some of those were going to go. But some of these games did not go at all how I thought they were going to go. Right? Like Louisville versus Purdue is fascinating because Louisville beats Purdue 35-28. That game is unnecessarily close. Purdue scores a touchdown in every single quarter. And you want to look at Louisville and go, man, what's wrong with Lamar Jackson? But honestly, Lamar Jackson was like the one thing, as per usual with this football team, that is correct with this football team. And I kid you not, they had three fumbles on the 1-yard line. Louisville did. Just hand it off to a running back, which ought to be the safest play you can make there because worst case scenario, you simply don't gain yards. That ought to be the worst case scenario, not a turnover where your quarterback is trying to jump on the back of a linebacker, and because your quarterback is Lamar Jackson and not, a heavyweight quarterback, like Cam Newton's a heavyweight quarterback. Lamar Jackson's cool and athletic and awesome. He's not a heavyweight quarterback. And Lamar Jackson jumped on some dude's back and got carried the greater part of 30 yards up the field. It was comical. It was like like when you tried as a kid to jump on your dad's back when you were playing with him. I mean, just carry Lamar Jackson 30 yards upfield. It was insane. The fact that your quarterback has to make that tackle and he had not just that, but another fumble and then another fumble on the 1-yard line as well. Like, it's just alarming. It just blows your mind that straight up talent is the reason why Louisville walked away from that game with the W. It's crazy. Charlie Strong pulls out a victory over Stony Brook, 31-17, but that game was way closer than it looked there at the end. The Texas-Maryland thing didn't go anywhere like I wanted that to go. I am a Texas fan, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this, mostly because I don't want to. I want to pretend that it didn't happen at all. But my gosh, the Tom Herman era has gotten off to a horrible start. Just awful. 51-41 Maryland over Texas. And now there's a lot of stuff that Maryland did that's just straight up legit, but Maryland ran a ton of Wildcat. Okay, just an insane amount of Wildcat offense that we shouldn't be this deceived by a Wildcat offense at this stage in football because we understand how it works. Like, the concept of the Wildcat was broken apart at the NFL level years ago. And then, like, you can't really use the Wildcat consistently in college either because college defensive coordinators understand it too. I'm trying to figure out how it is that Texas gave up 51 points worth of Wildcat in today's football. How did Texas give up 51 points of Wildcat? Though there was a punt return in there as well for Maryland. How did they give up like 40 points worth of Wildcat in 2017? That's what I want to know. How are you this woefully unprepared? Because I said this about Georgia Tech, and Tennessee's going to play Georgia Tech tonight. We're going to get into that as well a little bit later as well. But talk about Georgia Tech. The thing that Georgia Tech does really well is they run that triple option, and they will run the triple option down your blanking throat. I mean, they will just run it in your face. The issue there is that, like, when you're in the middle of the season, triple option is really hard to stop because you play a bunch of teams that don't play the triple option, and then all of a sudden, you've got one team that does play triple option, and you have no idea what to do. But when you start the season playing that team, they shouldn't deceive you. Like, everybody else is up for grabs, but you had the entire summer to prepare for whatever it was that is. They shouldn't deceive you. Texas had all summer to work on this. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Being a Texas fan is like waking up in the morning and punching yourself in the face. Like, I don't even understand how you could be that unprepared. And only Texas would hire a man like Tom Herman and just assume he would be magically the answer to all of your problems. Yep, the problem was Charlie Strong. Now, Charlie Strong didn't have a great handle on the organization. Like, there were just people that at the end of it, players, I mean, that at the end of it were not bought in anymore. So I feel like letting Charlie Strong go was not the wrong decision in that case. But man, we got sold a bill of goods when they were like, yeah, no, Tom Herman, that dude's going to fix everything. Now, I'm Adventist. I don't watch the games on Saturday. I watch them at night. I get them recorded. I watch them later. But man, Twitter was blowing up for me. People just laughing at Texas. Like, the last horrible thing that happened to Texas, we lost to Kansas last year. And you try and forget about that. And now you open the season losing to Maryland, which isn't bad because there's like Maryland has some legit athletes on that squad. It's not bad. And I don't feel terrible that we lost to Maryland. I feel terrible that we lost to Maryland, who runs a system that we had the entire summer to prepare for, and then the game starts and we look entirely unprepared. I mean, that can't happen. That can't happen. It just can't happen. So yeah, that's me being a fan here in this. I could not, like, that game did not go any way like I thought that was going to go, right? I didn't think that Texas was going to blow them out. I wasn't even sure Texas could win. But yo, when you give up 51 points, what on earth are you doing? What on earth are you doing? I don't get it. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I was doing fine. I was keeping myself together. But man, Texas football gets me heated, man. That's all we're going to talk about for the show. It just grinds me. It grinds me in a way that I cannot fully articulate. So, Michigan and Florida didn't go how I thought that was going to go. Did not think. I thought that game was going to be closer. I wasn't sure that Florida was going to beat Michigan. I did think that game was going to be closer than it was. Michigan beating Florida by a score of 33-17. And look, man, I gave Jim McElwain a lot of credit. I am not one of these people that has just dumped Jim McElwain, right? I have held on to the Jim McElwain bandwagon longer than most. But what is Jim McElwain's what is he doing? Right? Because his whole quarterback situation is not fixed, right? And I can't make excuses for you anymore because you got a guy in Malik Zaire that everybody wanted. I mean, you weren't the only school that wanted Malik Zaire. Florida wanted Malik Zaire. Auburn wanted Malik Zaire. Texas wanted Malik Zaire. There were a few schools that wanted Malik Zaire. They wanted the services of that guy because he's an incredible athlete. And has been, at least before this game, someone you could consider to be a very solid football player. You start the game with Felipe Franks. I understand why you start the game with Felipe Franks. Like, maybe you get Malik Zaire in. He does not look like what you hoped he would look like, Felipe Franks is the freshman that if you would have started Franks if you didn't have Zaire. So if you think that Franks is better than Zaire, run him out there. That's your job as the coach, right? And Felipe Franks is not playing terribly to start this game. Right? He's not playing badly. He did have that fumble right before halftime. That's costly. It's a costly fumble. But you started a game with back-to-back pick sixes in the first half. You really ought to come away with that win. And Felipe Franks, as I mentioned, was not playing horribly. So tell me how it is that Malik Zaire got to be in that game in the second half. Right? And when it was apparent that Malik Zaire was playing a sport that they made up on another planet, because it wasn't football, what it was that he was playing. When it became apparent that he was not playing football well, why not go back to Franks? Didn't do it. Absolutely didn't do it. And in a game where you're under-talented and understaffed because you've got a billion suspensions, everybody on your team's gone, essentially, especially your two best players, Jordan Scarlett, Antonio Callaway, they're not there. How is it that you don't play the best available quarterback on your roster? Right? Like, I don't know if Florida fans are legitimately upset about that. And some people said, like, toss Luke Del Rio in there. I don't see what you gained from Luke Del Rio. Luke Del Rio was bad last year. He was bad. Right? You might argue passable. You might argue that the worst of Luke Del Rio was not as bad as the performance that Malik Zaire was putting on, which is fair. I do think that it's more important to figure out what you've got in the two new guys than to retread the average that you had in Luke Del Rio. The average to below average that you had in that guy. But mercy. I don't understand at all not putting Franks back in the game. Like, Malik Zaire may wind up being at some point a guy you have to rely on this season, but yesterday was not that day. Like, it just wasn't. Like, at what point do you just not logically just go, you know what? Yeah, we got to go with Franks. But you've got three guys on your roster that you feel like you like, right? Like, you feel like Luke Del Rio is passable. Felipe Franks has got a lot of upside, and Malik Zaire is the guy that you brought in on a graduate transfer. Like, you waited for rules to be changed in the SEC to specifically recruit that guy. So when that guy shows up and he's not as successful as you hope, who do I blame? That guy or you? Because I feel like I ought to be blaming you. Like, he was successful before he got to you, successful enough. Like, Notre Dame's had their ups and downs, but like, successful enough before he got to you. But dude just looked lost out there. Now, when a guy looks lost, yeah, you want to blame the guy, right? Like, maybe there was something up with Malik that he just wasn't playing very well. But when a guy looks that lost, yeah, I blame the coach. I blame the coach entirely. Because preparation is your job. That is your job. That is the thing that they pay you to do. And your team wasn't prepared. Right? Like, same thing for me with the whole Texas thing. Like, you have a whole summer to prepare for a team. Why is it that you look unprepared? Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. LSU beat the brakes off of BYU. They looked magnificent doing it. Danny Etling this is the best version of Danny Etling, and I feel like this is what Matt Canada gets out of people. He doesn't make a guy that's average great. Like, you can't fix Danny Etling because Danny Etling's not broken. He just is what he is. He's just a very average quarterback. But you can make that average do a lot of things that other guys can't do. So we'll get into that in the next segment when we start focusing on SEC stuff. And Virginia Tech and West Virginia, what a great game. What a great game. And also important to me because Will Grier was the starting quarterback for West Virginia. And even though they lost 31-24 to Virginia Tech, Will Grier was a quarterback at Florida once. And at some point, when are you, Jim McElwain, looking at the whole situation with Will Grier and going, how is it that I could have allowed that guy to walk away from me? Because Will Grier looked great. He made some knuckleheaded plays. He made some boneheaded plays. But he was confident, and he threw the ball with authority, and he could run a little bit too. Will Grier was great. Virginia Tech was simply better, and that's the view around college football. We're going to get into the SEC, into the nuts and bolts, a little bit into the weeds. What other cliches do I have to say that we're going to be more specific? The nitty gritty. We're getting into the nitty gritty next on Clutch with Keon Rose.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Labor Day started out with a bang as Chattanooga City police officers shot and critically wounded a man after a call of a domestic dispute on Central Avenue. Police said that during the interaction with the suspect, shots were fired by law enforcement. The suspect was then taken to the hospital with critical injuries. The DA's office has asked the sheriff's office to lead the investigation. All the police officers who were involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative leave as per standard operating procedure. A weekend jet ski trip turned tragic after Travis Hale was killed while operating a jet ski after dark on Lake Chickamauga on Saturday in Dayton. The Tennessee Wildlife Rescue Agency confirms that he was operating his jet ski at nighttime when you're not supposed to and crashed into a private dock, killing him instantly. The bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest is going to stay at the state capitol for now. The Senate axed a proposal from the governor to take it down. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7's fast forecast now. 84 degrees as we get into the end of the day for our Labor Day, 86 for the high today, and 67 for the low. A cloudy day as we end out our day, and we're going to get rain tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, 82 for the high and 61 for the low. About half an inch of rain expected tomorrow, tapering off by Wednesday morning where it should be done completely. Temperature 75 for the high on Wednesday. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. EJ Pelton Company, 332-3339.
When my brother and I opened our first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300 plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Don't punish your gun by leaving it in a corner. Shoot it, sell it, or just toss it. Okay. Don't toss it. Make money with it. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range, the hottest gun shop in town, finds buyers for your extra firearms. Put cash in your pocket today. Are ARs cluttering your closet? Rugers rusting in your rec room? Shooter's Supply and Indoor Range in Hickson will take your firearm and put it on consignment. To you, that means no money out of your pocket with a small fee when the gun sells. Larry at Shooters has got an online store. He's licensed to ship anywhere. It's as if Shooter Supply were giving your billfold cover fire. Get the biggest number of bucks from the smallest Derringer to the longest Barrett. Maximum price, shortest time. What a great deal. Shooters-range.com. Shooters-range.com. That's shooters-range.com. Check with Larry.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
In this moment, who has your back? Do you know the name of your insurance agent? Does your agent know your name? Or would you call a 1-800 number that connects you with whom? Another state? Another country? Get a local independent insurance agent with Auto Owners Insurance. Someone you can call when bad stuff happens. In this moment, get an agent who will protect you in that moment. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500, 875-2500. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing auto owners insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Toulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nougat centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nouganomics.com. David Toulis, the blogger with the base pen.
Hi, this is Chrissy. And this is Summer of Summer Cares. There are too many homeless veterans in Chattanooga. Please help us in our Shoebox for Veterans campaign. You can fill a shoebox with hand warmers, hand sanitizers, hand wipes, cough drops, razors, shaving cream, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, deodorant, snacks, socks, gloves, and even a small blanket.
And make sure you drop your shoeboxes or your shoebox items off at Nougat Radio Studio on Hickson Pike across from Bojangles below Goss Insurance or Alpine Crest Elementary School.
Please join us at the Community Kitchen in Chattanooga on November 10th from 11 to 12:30 and help us distribute these care packages to the homeless veterans of Chattanooga. No veteran should ever go homeless.
Nougat Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nougat Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nougat Radio.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Gotta say, happy Labor Day. Hope you're enjoying your day off. Those of you that did get the day off, I clearly don't have the day off, but that was actually a choice. I could have had the day off, I think. But I really wanted to get into this stuff because there's so much here, and I didn't want to leave it for Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a lot that happened over the weekend, especially specifically in the SEC, because and week one does a really good job of setting you up for week two, right? Because in week two, you're trying to figure out who everybody is, right? Like week two, week three, I'm trying to figure out who you are, because in week one, some of you played real opponents, right? Like Florida State is a real opponent. I know they didn't play well. DeAndre Francois got injured in that game against Alabama. We can start there. But before he got injured, he wasn't playing well before he got hurt, right? Like he was just throwing interceptions. He threw an interception that was actually a really great defensive play by Alabama. Just got tricked by the coverage. But then after that, it looked like he was starting to unravel, right? Like he threw an interception where he just stared down his receiver. And so, like, obviously he got picked off. He wasn't having a great day. But despite that, right? And I don't know if Florida State should have ever been ranked 3. But even then, there's still a quality opponent. That's still a good football team there. And I'm interested in seeing what Alabama really is this season. DeAndre Francois, like I said, didn't play his best game. And Florida State, honestly, like that's the best shot. That's the best punch that anybody had of beating Alabama. I think the first half of this whole season, just how good they are. And again, they play Fresno State next. I mean, I don't expect Fresno State to beat them. They play Colorado State after that. I don't expect Colorado State to beat them. They play Vandy afterwards, Ole Miss. Like they don't play anybody remotely challenging until A&M in October, right? Like the next month of Alabama football is going to be absolutely worthless to watch, right? Not because of anything that Alabama has done. It's just their opponents are just so weak. Like Vanderbilt is fun to watch in the East, but they're not fun to watch playing Alabama. And Ole Miss is a shell of Ole Miss. So, I mean, that's not a challenge at all. So you got A&M, who collapsed horrifyingly last night, by the way. I mean, the old Texas A&M came undone in the worst way. So we'll get to A&M in a little bit. But yeah, like that was the last great challenge for Alabama. But at least I feel like because of the consistency of that school year in and year out, The fact that despite how DeAndre Francois was playing before he got hurt, that I still feel like Florida State is a quality football opponent. Yeah. I don't got any problems with Alabama. I figured we know what they are, right? When you look at Florida, the heck is Florida, right? I want to write them off and say that they're terrible, but I also want to see what they look like with Callaway and Scarlett. I want to see what they look like with those guys. I want to see what they look like with a good quarterback, and I promise you, no matter what it looked like on Saturday, there is a good quarterback on that roster. Okay, it's either Franks, it's either Zaire, and it's not Del Rio. But Del Rio's playable. Like there's somebody worth starting on that roster of guys. It looked like a dumpster fire Saturday. I mean, it looked like straight trash. But it's an exaggeration of that, right? Because like when things started to really come apart for Florida, it really, really came apart for Florida. I would have loved to have seen Felipe Franks really get some experience under his belt, really get some trust under his belt. And I thought, the guy's got a big arm. He made some great throws, and I just thought, well, wow, why don't they give this guy a little bit more of a chance to develop? And I think that what they did was when they switched to Zaire, I think they expected a sort of in-game, Malik Zaire's got experience. He's been here before, like a certain level of that to take over, and it just never clicked for him in that game. I'm going to chalk it up to a bad game, okay? Because I've seen Malik Zaire play football. The guy can play, right? I don't know what it was that like possessed him this weekend, but the guy can play. He looked lost, but he's not typically lost. That's not his actual state of being. So I don't know what Florida has to do to rectify these problems, especially with what's coming up ahead on their schedule. Right? Because they play Tennessee in 2 weeks. And we'll see what Tennessee looks like tonight. They play Kentucky in 3 weeks. And Kentucky, hey, they're no joke. That Kentucky, that's not a joke squad there. So I'm looking at a school in Florida. There's a lot of question marks. Tennessee, Kentucky, Vandy, LSU, A&M. These are all schools that can beat them in the next 5 or 6 weeks. We need to figure out what Florida is, but like I don't really need to figure out what Florida is. It's not my job. Jim McElwain needs to figure out what Florida is. The rest of us get to just sort of sit back and discover it. By week 3, we will have a decent idea as to what Florida is. This doesn't tell us what they are. It just tells us that they played badly and fell flat on their face against an opponent in a game that they might need. Like if they're trying to make the college football playoff, that Michigan game, big game. Absolutely need it. Right? Like you've gone to the SEC title game twice. Is that as far as you would like to go? If you're Florida, would you not like to go further than that? Georgia's another school. I don't know what they are. I saw a team run through Appalachian State that was bigger, stronger, and faster than Appalachian State. Beat them 31-10. And they looked like what we thought that they would look like. It is impossible to catch Sony Michel in the open field. Also, Sony Michel, underrated for his ability to run through tackles. He had a few tackles that he ran through. I was impressed. Nick Chubb is impossible to tackle when you are right in front of Nick Chubb. I don't know what you do to stop that guy. He's a monster. And those two guys found the end zone with a decent amount of regularity all game long. Jake Fromm stepped in for Jacob Eason, who got injured fairly early in the game. Jacob Eason's not going to play next week. I have a feeling that Jake Fromm is going to have to get better. I don't think that Georgia imagined he'd be in this position, but they play Notre Dame next week. They play Samford after that, so that's a nice, I don't want to say break, but I will say that playing Samford gives you like another opportunity to do what you did with Appalachian State, which is just give the ball to Michel and Chubb and just have them run through a defense that is athletically inferior to them. That gives you that opportunity again. So you don't need to rely on Jake Fromm too much. But next week against Notre Dame is overblown and overrated regularly. However, just by virtue of being Notre Dame, there's a level of respect that you have to give to that ball club. They recruit well. They get top athletes. That's the kind of school that they are. You have to give that kind of deference to that school. And Jake Fromm, he looked okay, right? He made some plays. He wasn't bad. Threw a touchdown pass. He was okay. He was okay. Didn't kill the team, which I think is smart, which I think is good. That they didn't put him in a position where he had to put the team on his back. He was 10 for 15, 143 yards, 1 touchdown. But Georgia's scrambling for a quarterback. I mean, they never intended Jake Fromm to have to see action this early. And I don't know what you do without Jacob Eason. Because I was expecting some progression from Jacob Eason this season. And they can win without Eason early on this season. The front end of their schedule is not as deadly. But they have got to figure out how they're going to win some of these games, right? Next week, Notre Dame, they're going to have to figure that one out. Then I don't want to say they get a break against Samford, but they get a break against Samford. Let's be honest. It's one of those games. You turn around, you give it to Michelle, you give it to Chubb until it's time to go home. The clocks will hit 0. You'll have a lead. Because it's hard to stop those guys even when you know they're coming. And Appalachian State, of all the Division II schools, Appalachian State has some of the best athletes, I think. And if Appalachian State can't do it, I have trouble believing. I struggle to buy Samford as a school that's going to take out Georgia. So you don't have too much to worry about. You have time to sit down and wait. If you've got Jacob Eason, if you can see if that guy can get healthy, is really what it is. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. One school that I am very confident in. We're talking about the SEC this past weekend. Just how did the SEC fare? What did we learn about the SEC? Because one school that I feel like I learned a lot about, and then I feel like I know them already, and this might be a bit premature, LSU. I feel like I know what LSU is, and I don't know if that translates into, can LSU do something like beat Alabama? And LSU, by the way, plays the Mocs. LSU plays the Mocs next week. So we'll see how that goes. But I get the feeling like Matt Canada is really good at bringing out the best in players. And I hate the term quarterback whisperer because it's such a cliche. And what does it say? It doesn't say anything. I mean, what you're saying is a guy gets the best offensive production out of quarterbacks, and that if a quarterback is average, he can make this guy great. And if a quarterback is bad, he could at the very least make this guy average. And there is no such thing as that, right? Like if a guy is bad, he's bad. You might get him pieces that might make him better, that might help him be more successful, but he himself has got the skill set that he has got, okay? There is no coach on this earth that's going to show up, and if you have a slow windup, you're going to suddenly be releasing the ball faster. And if you have terrible footwork, you're suddenly going to have great footwork. That doesn't exist. So when people say quarterback whisperer, I always ask you, what do you mean by that? There's no such thing as a quarterback whisperer. But Matt Canada is really good at getting the best out of quarterbacks, not because he is a quote-unquote quarterback whisperer, because he understands the whole offense. And he understands that guy's limitations and that guy's strengths. You look at Danny Etling's numbers for this BYU game, and they're the same plain Jane average numbers Danny Etling has been giving us since always. Right? Danny Etling, 14 of 17, 171 yards. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but he didn't throw any interceptions. Like this is your average Danny Etling stat line. And it's a stat line that is frustrating when you're losing, but it's not a stat line that's frustrating when you win. And Danny Etling has a big enough arm to throw the ball and put it downfield. You've got Darius Geis, who is incredible. He's incredible, right? Like this guy's a junior. He's not coming back for a senior year. That dude's going to the NFL at the end of the season, for sure. Darius Geis, 27 carries, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he looked stronger than BYU's whole defense. Plain and simple. Just looked stronger than that whole defense. But where Matt Canada was very, very, very successful was he got Danny Etling to just be a play-action quarterback. So Danny Etling gets to be an average quarterback, but when he's throwing into empty coverage, he's throwing into single coverage, and he's good enough to do that. Danny Etling is good enough to do that for sure. So what you're looking at is a guy, very, very, very high IQ football player, just sort of average. And Matt Canada put him in position to where he can produce an average stat line, but the team wins 27-0. Right? So, like, you're going to be a whole lot less frustrated by what it is that Danny Etling's doing. Now, if you give Matt Canada a great quarterback, you give Matt Canada a playmaker, look out. LSU's going to be scary. And I don't know when they find their playmaker at quarterback, but I think they're going to have a really good season as is. Right? Like, they're going to have a really good season already. And the front half of their schedule isn't particularly difficult. So we'll see how it is in the second half. Now, speaking of teams that can't sustain in the second half, I present for your consideration the Texas A&M Aggies, who went to UCLA to play a football game and just lost their marbles all along the way. That was, first off, that was a thrilling game. Absolutely exciting game. Josh Rosen looked really bad, and then he looked really good. And I don't know what that says about him as a quarterback prospect, and I'll get into, the quarterback prospect watch, I guess, later in the show, because there's a lot of guys that we do this, we hype them up. We go, look at this guy. He's going to be in the NFL, and he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, or he's going to be a first rounder, and he's going to revolutionize, blah, 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 blah. And we just people just saying words about quarterbacks, and it's just like we don't know what any of these guys are going to look like in the NFL. We don't know what any of these guys are going to look like this season. And some of the guys that were very highly inflated look disappointing. As I said, some of them might, right? Not to be mean, just you can't be expected to impress everybody all the time. I don't care what scouts are looking at you. It's just not fair, nor does it make sense. Just doesn't make sense. Josh Rosen's one of those guys. Josh Rosen looked absolutely terrible. And then he looked great against A&M. And it's funny to me because, like, when people talk about Kevin Sumlin, who, after this loss, look, unless Kevin Sumlin just wins every game from now to the end of the season, Kevin Sumlin will almost certainly be fired, right? It's about as certain a thing. You already have boosters at Texas A&M clamoring loudly. You can hear them from here. They want Sumlin gone. Why? Because Sumlin is an inconsistent coach. It's not his fault, mostly. But he has teams, they don't finish out the second halves of seasons. So this game really just was a microcosm of Kevin Sumlin's time at Texas A&M, which is big in the first half, falls flat in the second. That's all this was. 34-point lead. I would not have ever predicted that Texas A&M would have a 34-point lead against UCLA. But once they had a 34-point lead, I would never have predicted that they'd lose it. I really wouldn't. I thought that this team would have enough talent for that. Like, if they were to somehow get a 34-point lead, that they'd never blow that thing. They blew that whole lead. And the problem with it, too, was that there was just a point where UCLA scored. I think they scored a couple of touchdowns. And they're still down big, but the comeback felt inevitable. At least to me, it felt inevitable. I don't know why, but you always get that feeling with Texas A&M that like they're falling apart. Feels inevitable. Like it was always meant to happen this way. And no fan base, no group of boosters are ever going to stand for the feeling like they were always meant to lose. That's got to be one of the worst feelings, like an absolute meaninglessness. You're watching your team play, and nothing that they do matters. Nothing that they do appears to matter because they were always going to lose because that's who they are. No fan base likes that. And not only fan base, the players on the team don't like that. Forget the fan base and the boosters for a second. The players on the team don't like that. Like this feeling of inevitability that no matter what we do, there's going to be some way for us to screw this up. And it starts with the head coach. It always 100,000% starts with the head coach. Now, Josh Rosen to me is an interesting guy because he gets painted as this brilliant quarterback. And I have to say, Josh Rosen has got, look, he's very talented. I'm not going to stand here and tell you Josh Rosen's not talented or that he's overrated or anything like that. He might be a little bit overrated as a draft prospect, but he's not overrated as a college football talent. He's everything that's advertised. But like his footwork is very suspect. And some of his decision-making in that game, just terrible. Like there was one touchdown pass that he threw that should have been an interception. Like it just slipped between the fingers of an A&M defender whose name escapes me. Cappers White, I want to say his last name was. Just slipped through his fingers. Like he should have intercepted that pass. Josh Rosen threw a terrible pass. He threw a pass into coverage. He underthrew the ball, right? Like there was no air underneath it. He underthrew the ball, and it went right to the defender. Slipped through the defender's hands and went to his receiver, right? Like Josh Rosen made some awful, awful decisions in that game. He made some awful plays. UCLA gets the victory because of their defense. They did also get a little bit lucky. Like they got a little bit lucky. I'm not the guy that gives the quarterback all the credit when a team wins a game. I'm not about to stand here and crown Josh Rosen as anything. Josh Rosen had all the same things that made me uncomfortable with him before this game. He got bailed out. All of those things still make me uncomfortable. Okay? He got bailed out by a Texas A&M defense that didn't punish him for his mistakes. You don't come back from down 34 by yourself. Especially if you're a quarterback. You get some help from the defense. You get some help from the other team too. And when Texas A&M stalled out and could not find a way to score, that was it. Good night. Which is unfortunate because when you build up a 34-point lead, that's something that you actually expect out of Kevin Sumlin. He is an offensive coach. But when you can't keep scoring to hold off somebody from your 34-point head start, and you can't score enough points to hold that team at bay, and you're an offensive coach, look, man, we've got some expectations of you. One is that you can put points on the board. And yes, you had an injury. But a field goal, one more field goal, wins you that game. Team rallies back from down 34 on you. Yeah, you're gone. You're absolutely gone. And the thing is, there's usually that moment in the season when the coach is on the hot seat, and it's a decisive moment. And he either saves himself or he pretty much ensures that he's going to be fired. Right? Like Gus Malzahn had that moment last year against LSU. Was able to beat LSU. Decisive moment. Les Miles had the same moment in the same game. Les Miles and LSU lost. Les Miles gets fired. Gus Malzahn keeps his job. Like there's the decisive moment. The Aggies and Kevin Sumlin had that moment last night. They had that moment last night. And that's it. I mean, it usually does not come in week one of the season. Now, granted, A&M is, you're playing a quality opponent. Like if it was going to happen in a week one game, it was going to happen in the game in which you were playing a quality opponent, right? But you've got to be kidding me. To fall flat on your face that soon, that's incredible. Now we're going to finish the rest of the SEC, and then I'm going to talk about some of these quarterback prospects. And I got to talk about Drew Lock, his 7-touchdown day. Missouri beating Missouri State half to death. Got to talk about all of it next. Plus the others.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nuga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You've been in a wreck.
756-6400.
You've been wrongfully fired.
756-6400.
A turkey is suing you out of the blue.
756-6400.
Confused about a business startup?
756-6400.
That's the number for you. 756-6400. Right here, right now, Chattanooga. Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. Get biz advice now. Representation to fight for your right. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Don't sit on your rights. You've got remedies. Turn your tragedy into cash. You've got the solution from estate planning all the way to probate. Act now. Top attorneys in Chattanooga are waiting to help you get relief. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win. So win with us.
756-6400.
Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Turn your tragedy into cash. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win. So win with us.
756-6400.
756-6400.
The essential oils have been around for thousands of years. They're beneficial because they're natural, they're safe, and they can help you. My name's Loretta Lynn. I'm with Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils, and you can find me on Facebook at Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. If you have migraines, headaches, aches and pains, gout, diabetes, sleep apnea, erectile dysfunction, Essential Oils can help you. Call me today for a free consultation, 423-605-4719. Call me, Loretta Lynn, Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils on Facebook.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate the maze of marketing channels which are necessary in today's marketplace? Are you fed up with spending your time and money on employees who don't perform and marketing strategies that don't produce? Then you need Cindy's Choice. Cindy will solve your marketing problems with their innovative shared marketing management concept that will allow your business to have the benefits of a full-time employee that is actually out building relationships in the community.
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDG Saudi Daisy Chattanooga.
Message to the nuke testing regime in North Korea.
Our country's patience is not unlimited.
Category 4. That's the strength of Hurricane Irma.
Everybody in Florida needs to watch this extremely closely.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. After North Korea's big blast underground over the weekend, the focus was on the UN Security Council. Sanctions, please, said UN Ambassador Nikki Haley.
We have kicked the can down the road long enough. There is no more road left.
Following Pyongyang's test of what the regime says was a hydrogen bomb,
enough is enough.
Haley called out Kim Jong-un.
He is begging for war.
And while pushing for more UN sanctions to be worked out this week and voted on next Monday, Haley promised,
we will defend our allies and our territory.
In Seoul, correspondent Ben Tracy says the government has made a statement.
South Korea put on a dramatic show of force Monday, flying fighter jets and launching ballistic missiles. This military drill was designed to simulate an attack on North Korea. Seoul and its 10 million people face the most immediate danger from North Korea's growing arsenal of weapons.
At the White House, correspondent Stephen Portnoy says South Korean leadership has been conversing with President Trump.
Under a mutual defense pact that dates back decades, the South Koreans have capped the payload of their ballistic missiles at about a half ton. But this summer, President Moon Jae-in began lobbying President Trump to lift that cap and make South Korea's long-range missiles more powerful. The White House says Mr. Trump has now agreed. Moon's office says the two leaders saw the latest provocation from North Korea as unprecedented.
I'm Gary Nunn. The agreement between Presidents Trump and Moon Jae-in essentially says South Korean missiles might be capable of delivering nuclear weapons in the future. Grave concern to Joseph Cirincione of the Plowshares Fund.
Each side thinks that this toughness will increase their bargaining position, will increase their prestige, but it brings us dangerously close to a nuclear tinderbox.
Cirincione believes this is actually a time to be backing away from military measures, not toward them.
When Hurricane Harvey hit Texas, it was a Category 4 storm. Hurricane Irma, now heading for the Caribbean, is a Category 4 storm. Sustained winds at 130 miles per hour now, heading for Cuba and Puerto Rico. WPEC TV's Jeff Baradelli is tracking Irma.
The latest European model parallels the southeast coast of Florida, impacting Miami, impacting Fort Lauderdale, impacting West Palm Beach, and then headed towards the southeast coast of the United States.
It might affect the Florida coast by Saturday. These shoppers taking no chances at the grocery store in Miami.
Right now, it's a little bit too early to tell, but it's a good time to be prepared.
Expect the worst, and if nothing else bad happens, you can have a great party in your backyard after the storm is over.
Now this.
Does your water stain and damage your fixtures? Does it smell or taste bad? Are you worried about what's in your water? Water quality should not be painful and worrisome. Get HydroCare water systems from Wave Home Solutions with the most advanced purification technologies. Call Wave Home Solutions today at 1-866-979-9147 or go to bestwaternow.com. HydroCare will eliminate limescale that causes hundreds of dollars in damage to pipes and appliances without using salt. Well water will no longer smell or stain your fixtures. City water will be purified of harmful chlorine, lead, arsenic, and chemicals. Wave Home Solutions provides the cleanest, healthiest water at every faucet. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 1-866-979-9147, 1-866-979-9147, or go to bestwaternow.com. That's bestwaternow.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
57 dead in Texas after Hurricane Harvey. 10 days after it hit, some water's still going up. Steve Futterman.
In some areas of Houston, like the section I'm at now, the Westchester area, the floodwaters are not receding. That's because the water being released from the two dams, the two reservoirs, is going into this area. It's going to continue for several weeks. People who live here are not happy, but they say,
I understand the reasoning behind letting the water flow from the dams. I mean, we don't want all of Houston to be completely flooded.
In Crosby, Texas, dangers from the Arkema chemical plant fire and explosions now over. Evacuees get to return home. Biggest wildfire in LA history keeps burning. Here's Jimmy Yuccas.
There are 1,000 firefighters now trying to work this fire. It's more than 7,000 acres, and you have everything from water dumping helicopters to trucks, and they need water. They need supplies. They need all those types of things.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Labor Day started out with a bang as Chattanooga City police officers shot and critically wounded a man after a call of a domestic dispute on Central Avenue. Police said that during the interaction with the suspect, shots were fired by law enforcement. The suspect was then taken to the hospital with critical injuries. The DA's office has asked the sheriff's office to lead the investigation. All the police officers who were involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative leave as per standard operating procedure. A weekend jet ski trip turned tragic after Travis Hale was killed while operating a jet ski after dark on Lake Chickamauga on Saturday in Dayton. The Tennessee Wildlife Rescue Agency confirms that he was operating his jet ski at nighttime when you're not supposed to and crashed into a private dock, killing him instantly. The bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest is going to stay at the state capitol for now. The Senate axed a proposal from the governor to take it down. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7's fast forecast now. 84 degrees as we get into the end of the day for our Labor Day, 86 for the high today, and 67 for the low. A cloudy day as we end out our day, and we're going to get rain tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, 82 for the high and 61 for the low. About half an inch of rain expected tomorrow, tapering off by Wednesday morning where it should be done completely. Temperature 75 for the high on Wednesday. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hello Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Clutched with Dion Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. It's still game day. If you're a Tennessee fan and you play Georgia Tech tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in Atlanta, Mercedes Dome, and big time game, because the rest of the SEC has played their games, many of them showing us who they are and who they are not, right? Alabama is showing us that they are still Alabama. Florida, I think the jury's still out on Florida. Auburn has shown us that they can score lots of points, right? They showed us a few things. They showed us that Jarrett Stidham very much is their guy. He did have a rocky start. He threw an interception. He was sack fumbled, but ultimately pulled himself together and threw some great passes. He can throw the ball. And also, Jarrett Stidham is one of those guys that people wanted to know how it was that he was going to function in a Gus Malzahn system, because in a Gus Malzahn system, you do have to, if you're the quarterback, run the ball a lot. Jarrett Stidham is flipping fast, which I said before he got there. That guy can run. And how I know he can run is, and you're just going to have to trust me on this one, I'm a Big 12 guy. Jarrett Stidham played at Baylor. You can't play at Baylor and not run. This is the school that produced Robert Griffin III. You can't play at Baylor and not run. Okay? He played at Baylor under Art Briles' system. Of course he can run. Why was that shocking to anybody? But yeah, Jarrett Stidham came out and showed, look, he's that dude. He got some help, though. He got some help from that defense. And I knew that Auburn's defense was going to be good because lots of people told me. I'm not going to lie, I'm not an Auburn expert. But I was told, look, Auburn's defense is really, really good. Potentially one of the best in the league. But this is amazing. I mean, they played lights out defense. Yes, it's Georgia Southern, so you take it with a grain of salt. It's one of those games that, like I said, it feels like a preseason game. It's not that it doesn't matter. It matters. If you lose that game, you get 0-1 on your record. You don't want to get 0-1 on your record. It very, very much matters, but it doesn't tell you how good. It's not very good as a qualitative measure as to how it is that this team even plays, right? But what it does tell you is, oh, here's a good indicator that this team can play really good defense and can score the ball. Now, you are playing against talent that's lesser than yours. So, yeah, you're going to have some moments of incredible dominance that you're not going to have against other schools. But the fact that you can defend and the fact that you can play defense and the fact that you can score in bunches, like all of this stuff adds up and it does matter, right? Like, as we learned, for instance, take for instance, if we jump to the Big 12 here, a school that I also like and a school that I think has a chance to be in the college football playoff, Oklahoma State. Mason Rudolph. I like Mason Rudolph. I think Mason Rudolph's great. He might win a Heisman this year. Played Tulsa. 59-24 is the score, right? So what does that tell you about Oklahoma State? Well, it tells you that Oklahoma State, way better than Tulsa. It tells you Mason Rudolph's really, really good. But when you give up 24 points to Tulsa, who can you stop if the opponent is better than Tulsa? You see what I'm saying? Oklahoma State gave up 24 points to Tulsa. Auburn gave up 7 to Georgia Southern. So that tells you, okay, you've got some indicator, even though the opponent is a quote-unquote inferior opponent, you have some indicator as to whether or not this team is actually good. Right? Auburn giving us a better indicator than Oklahoma State. Obviously. Right? Now, Tulsa, I think, is probably better than Georgia Southern, but still, like, Oklahoma State ought to beat the pants off of Tulsa. And they did, but they did it with offense more so than defense, which gives you an idea as to how it is that this team's going to play when the competition level steps up and steps up again and steps up again. South Carolina beats NC State 35-28, which was expected, but good performance all around on that team. Kentucky beat Southern Mississippi 24-17. Mississippi State against Charleston Southern, which is a different opponent now, beat him 49-0. I did not watch that game. I had no way of watching that game. Did not even want to watch that game. But again, Dan Mullen, Mississippi State, not ranked, and they beat a school half to death. Just saying. Give that school a little bit of respect. And Vanderbilt beat Middle Tennessee 28-6. So I want to get a talk in about some of these quarterback prospects. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I'm reviewing week 1 of the college football season. Not in its entirety, of course, because Tennessee plays Georgia Tech tonight, number 25 ranked Tennessee in Atlanta, Georgia, in less than an hour now. Almost 45 minutes from now is kickoff time. So, I'm letting you free. The show's going to be over in time for you to go wander over to your TV and figure it out. Unless you're driving down there already, in which case, have fun. Good luck. But I want to talk about these quarterbacks because we were talking about these quarterbacks like these guys are the greatest guys. This draft class that's coming up in the NFL, the greatest draft class, right? And the names that were being tossed around. I just mentioned Mason Rudolph of Oklahoma State. He's the guy that was being bandied about. Sam Darnold at USC. He's being talked about a lot. Josh Rosen, who I talked about earlier in the show, who played like rubbish for about half a game and then played amazing in the second half of the game, including that fake spike and then touchdown pass at the end of the game to go out there and win it for UCLA. Josh Allen, who plays in the Division II, Wyoming, struggled a lot. Like all of these guys had their struggles this week. And I mean, they were some mighty struggles. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And Lamar Jackson's the guy who's around, but Lamar Jackson won the Heisman last year. And Lamar Jackson had his struggles last year. Like one of those things is when a guy usually has a Heisman season, we usually have to wait another season for him to regress. Lamar Jackson regressed in the same season he won the Heisman. So we know what Lamar Jackson's struggles are. So when we see them, and he didn't really have any yesterday, but I'm saying when they show up this season, and he's going to play better competition, so we'll see it. When we see them, we're not going to be as surprised by what's wrong with Lamar Jackson as what we are when we see Mason Rudolph, when we see Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold, who looks like a chipmunk. I mean, he's got the biggest cheeks I've ever seen. The grandmas would love his face. Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. Like all of those guys, I think, were very highly touted guys. And we were looking at this and people are going, yeah, if you're an NFL team, you want to wait till this year to be in the NFL draft. And I'm like, why? Why? Because you have an entire college football season to play where these guys might show us something else. They might show us another level that they could hit that's great, but they could show us another level to hit that's low. Everything can be worse than what it is. And we just keep thinking, okay, well, these guys played well, so obviously the next season they're going to be better. And of course that doesn't make any sense because guys get figured out by defensive coordinators. You play in your same conference again, and everyone gets a second swipe at you. But yeah, you're not going to look better unless your conference is just garbage. Like you're just not going to look better. And yeah, Sam Darnold struggled yesterday because USC struggled against Western Michigan. That you would like, what was USA? I think USC, they were like 25-point favorites. Like they were supposed to punch Western Michigan in the face, and then they didn't. The Western Michigan showed up and played a ball game and took some heroics from Sam Darnold. Like you look at Sam Darnold and you go, he's got what it takes. But Sam Darnold is not the greatest quarterback prospect I've ever seen. And he might still wind up going number 1 in the NFL draft, but Sam Darnold has got his problems. And we're going to see more of them this season is what I'm getting at, okay? Because if Western Michigan can rip the Band-Aid off of Sam Darnold, you tell me what Stanford's going to do, right? You tell me what Oregon's going to do. So no, I'm not a huge 100% sold on those guys. And I'm also not 100% sold on Josh Rosen. Like I said before, I don't like Rosen's footwork. I hate his decision-making. Josh Rosen threw some passes into double coverage that he absolutely got away with. He underthrew some balls. I'm not a big Josh Rosen guy as far as, oh yeah, this guy's a lock to be a top NFL prospect. He's very talented and skilled in college football, and I like his mind, and I like his personality. Josh Rosen has a personality. He says things other than just the normal cliches that we expect quarterbacks to say. People call him a problem guy, a troublemaker. Josh Rosen is not a troublemaker. Josh Rosen answers questions honestly, and that's not troublemaking. And I feel like at some point, we have just gotten to this point where we are just angry and upset with stuff that people say that we don't like. Right? We like it when an athlete is outspoken and get behind a cause that we can all get behind. But when an athlete has an opinion that might differ from some of us or even most of us, we don't like that. Can't stand that. That guy's a troublemaker. Yeah, Colin Kaepernick, that guy's a troublemaker. How? He commits no crimes. He gets into no trouble, but that guy's a troublemaker. How? He has an opinion that's different from yours. He did an action that maybe if you were in the same position as him, you wouldn't do. But how does that make him a troublemaker? Right? Josh Rosen comes out and he says, being a college football quarterback is hard. And it's hard because the school has unrealistic demands of what it is that they want us to do. They want us to be great football players and they want us to be great students. And I'm telling you, you can't be both. Well, some guys don't agree with that. Some guys who played college football and college sports don't agree with that. And a few college football fans don't agree with that because it makes us uncomfortable. It makes us uncomfortable when we think about the idea that, yeah, this stuff's not really about school. It's more about football. That makes us a little bit uncomfortable. So that Josh Rosen, he's a troublemaker. Why? Because he has an unpopular opinion? How many of you have unpopular opinions? I'm sure a lot of you do. If you were somebody who was supporting Donald Trump before it was cool, you have an unpopular opinion. Or at least at one point you had an unpopular opinion. Would you like everybody to just ostracize you? That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. A guy cannot be a troublemaker for simply having an opinion. But there's something about people who played that sport. Football. I'm talking about football. Where we don't like our football players to have and come compartmentalized with personalities. We want the same boring stuff that we've always gotten, except that when we get it, we complain that it's the same boring stuff we've always gotten. You cannot hate Butch Jones and his cliches if you also hate Josh Rosen. They are opposites in every way. In every single way. That's what I'm saying. Now, Josh Rosen is not a troublemaker, and I think he'll be a fine NFL quarterback. He has the tools, right? He's a big, strong-armed, intelligent guy. I mean, that's what you want when you've got a quarterback. I don't know what else you're looking for there. But he still doesn't make great decisions. I hate that he believes so much in his arm that he'll just cram the football into double coverage. You cannot do that and get away with it. It's a bad idea. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. So I'm not as big a believer. And then the Josh Allen thing, I've told you this. Josh Allen, wrong Allen. The scouts are looking at the wrong Allen. That's all I'm telling you. Josh Allen up in Wyoming, he struggled. He played badly. And in fairness, we turned Josh Allen into an overnight sensation. And even he wasn't prepared for it. Like, we've decided, because we like to copy things, you know, not just in football, in life, but in football, it is extra a rule that you just have to copy stuff that other people did. I don't know why. It just is. So when we looked and discovered that Carson Wentz was this guy in a Division II league, and how good is he really, and can he be successful in the NFL? But of course he can, because he's a coach's son and he understands the game, and this is a pro-style offense. And then Carson Wentz is the number 2 overall pick in the draft, and he goes to the NFL and he plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. And oh my goodness, Carson Wentz is actually good at football. What? Nobody saw that coming. That was, at least not me. That was a plot twist to me. I thought we just pumped up Carson Wentz because it was like, wait, who else are we going to have in this draft? There's nobody else in this draft. We've got Jared Goff and like nobody, right? And even then people were like, yeah, Jared Goff's the guy that you have to redshirt. He can't show up and play. Right? Like you're going to have to hold it off on him. Jared Goff can't just show up and play. right? He's that dude. So how's the guy who's going to be the number 2 pick in the draft going to be better than him? And Carson Wentz showed up, took that job by the reins, and looks like a good NFL quarterback. So we thought we could find another one. That's really what it was that we got greedy. We looked at Carson Wentz and said, there's no way that we're going to leave any more gems hiding in Division II football. And someone clued in on Josh Allen. And what does Josh Allen have as his set of characteristics? Because we only do this with a set of characteristics. He's a coach's son. He plays in a pro-style offense, and he's got a strong arm. So somehow somebody just thought to themselves, yeah, Josh Allen, he's going to be a top quarterback prospect. And Josh Allen, like from scouts that I've been able to talk to, and I talked to some scouts on football forums because that's the only place that I really hang out in my spare time. Boy, that's like admitting that you just don't have friends, really. But no, I talked to some scouts on some football forums and like, yeah, Josh Allen had a lot of weaknesses last year. Like there was a lot of hype around him, but the same stuff that he was doing this past weekend, and I didn't sit down and watch Wyoming football in case you want to know, but all the same stuff that he screwed up this weekend was stuff that he has been capable of screwing up all along. And so to put that hype on him and put that level of expectation on him was really unfair to him. Was really just unfair to him. And you've got to do your due diligence if you're a scout and not just jump on a hype train, which a lot of NFL scouts anonymously did because, of course, it's anonymous. So they get to say, hey, no, I love this guy. And he ends up being in a bunch of people's mock drafts, even though, I mean, come on. Really? You're going to find Carson Wentz's twice in the same decade? How often do you draft Division II quarterback guy and he's great? Right? The last quarterback I can think of, Joe Flacco, Delaware, and Joe Flacco's okay. Joe Flacco's not great. Right? Like he's got a strong arm and all the, again, the tools that we look at when we look at a stereotypical NFL quarterback. He's big, he's strong, he's tall, he's got a great arm. Joe Flacco checks off all the boxes. Carson Wentz does too. So does Josh Allen. But they're not all created equally. Like you can't just go, oh, Division II quarterback that's strong-armed and got great vision and great feet. And I mean, like, there's maybe a handful of those guys every 10 years that you can draft. And not saying start in the league, by the way, that you can just draft. Why did we think that Josh Allen was the guy that was there? And I'm saying Austin Allen. Austin Allen's the truth, man. My problem is this. My problem is this. SEC quarterbacks get overlooked all the time. Any of us watching football in the South could have told you Dak Prescott deserved to go a whole lot higher than round 4. I thought Dak Prescott was going to be a first rounder. And then I looked at the first mock draft that came out after the NFL's or the college football season was over. And they didn't have Dak Prescott where I thought they were going to have Dak Prescott, which I thought was bizarre and weird. Because we watched some of these quarterbacks down here in the South. Dak Prescott was good here. So, of course, it wasn't a shock. You got Drew Lock. Drew Lock on a 7-touchdown day. That's an SEC record. Drew Lock's pretty amazing. He plays in Missouri. Like, you're just not going to sit down one day and just watch a Missouri game for fun unless you're a real junkie, a real college football junkie. But Drew Lock is legit. Jarrett Stidham, I mean, I understand. He played Georgia Southern. But Jarrett Stidham is the real deal. And people understand that Jarrett Stidham is the real deal. But it's funny because they only pay attention to SEC quarterbacks when they transfer in from somewhere. Jake Bentley, that guy's legit. I mean, like, there's so many great quarterbacks in the SEC. And I'm saying, when you're throwing around Rosen and Darnold and Allen, I understand, like, those are trendy. You notice something about all those guys? Allen is a Division II guy, and we want to find the next Carson Wentz. Darnold and Rosen, those guys are in California. Those guys are in Los Angeles. where people have their eyeballs pasted. And I'm telling you, they keep ignoring the South. You're going to keep ignoring really good, really talented quarterbacks, quality quarterbacks. Time and time again, there's plenty of them playing here. I'm a little disappointed that we don't get to see Jacob Eason for a little bit, but I think he has the potential to be one of those quarterbacks as well. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Labor Day started out with a bang as Chattanooga City police officers shot and critically wounded a man after a call of a domestic dispute on Central Avenue. Police said that during the interaction with the suspect, shots were fired by law enforcement. The suspect was then taken to the hospital with critical injuries. The DA's office has asked the sheriff's office to lead the investigation. All the police officers who were involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative leave as per standard operating procedure. A weekend jet ski trip turned tragic after Travis Hale was killed while operating a jet ski after dark on Lake Chickamauga on Saturday in Dayton. The Tennessee Wildlife Rescue Agency confirms that he was operating his jet ski at nighttime when you're not supposed to and crashed into a private dock, killing him instantly. The bust of Nathan Bedford Forrest is going to stay at the state capitol for now. The Senate axed a proposal from the governor to take it down. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7's fast forecast now. 84 degrees as we get into the end of the day for our Labor Day, 86 for the high today, and 67 for the low. A cloudy day as we end out our day, and we're going to get rain tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, 82 for the high and 61 for the low. About half an inch of rain expected tomorrow, tapering off by Wednesday morning where it should be done completely. Temperature 75 for the high on Wednesday. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
When my brother and I opened our first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300-plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Don't punish your gun by leaving it in a corner. Shoot it, sell it, or just toss it. Okay. Don't toss it. Make money with it. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range, the hottest gun shop in town, finds buyers for your extra firearms. Put cash in your pocket today. Are ARs cluttering your closet? Rugers rusting in your rec room? Shooter Supply and Indoor Range in Hickson will take your firearm and put it on consignment. To you, that means no money out of your pocket with a small fee when the gun sells. Larry at Shooters has got an online store. He's licensed to ship anywhere. It's as if Shooter Supply were giving your billfold cover fire. Get the biggest number of bucks from the smallest Derringer to the longest Barrett. Maximum price, shortest time. What a great deal. Shooters-range.com, shooters-range.com. That's shooters-range.com. Check with Larry.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
In this moment, who has your back? Do you know the name of your insurance agent? Does your agent know your name? Or would you call a 1-800 number that connects you with whom? Another state? Another country? Get a local independent insurance agent with Auto Owners Insurance. Someone you can call when bad stuff happens. In this moment, get an agent who will protect you in that moment. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500, 875-2500. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Toulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nougat centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nouganomics.com. David Toulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
Hi, this is Chrissy. And this is Summer of Summer Cares. There are too many homeless veterans in Chattanooga. Please help us in our Shoebox for Veterans campaign. You can fill a shoebox with hand warmers, hand sanitizers, hand wipes, cough drops, razors, shaving cream, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, deodorant, snacks, socks, gloves, and even a small blanket.
And make sure you drop your shoeboxes or your shoebox items off at Nougat Radio Studio on Hickson Pike across from Bojangles below Goss Insurance or Alpine Crest Elementary School.
Please join us at the Community Kitchen in Chattanooga on November 10th from 11 to 12:30 and help us distribute these care packages to the homeless veterans of Chattanooga. No veteran should ever go homeless.
Nougat Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nougat Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nougat Radio.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, tonight, 8 o'clock, Atlanta, in the new stadium of the Atlanta Falcons, the Mercedes-Benz Dome. It's not really a dome. Like, it's indoors. Like, the roof opens and closes, but let's be honest here. This thing opens up like the Eye of Sauron or something. This is not a dome in the typical sense that a dome is a rounded roof. You know, like the Texans have an opening and closing dome, but it slides back open and shut like an eyelid. This thing's got like 8 parts. It opens and closes like a transformer. This isn't really a dome, but fine. We'll call it a dome because it's an indoor arena of sport. How about that? I will meet you halfway. I will meet you halfway. And Tennessee, there's a couple of storylines here with Tennessee. One is stopping the triple option, which is worth noting because it is an offense that's kind of quirky and tough to stop. Now, I think Tennessee ought to be able to stop the triple option, in large part because they've had the entire summer to prepare for it. And the triple option is not impossible to stop if you are disciplined, right? And look, I'm telling you right now, because we can see how bad it is. We can see how bad it is when a team runs an offense, and I don't want to use the word gimmick here, but it is an offense that's very niche, and it's not one that you typically have to game plan for. When a team runs an offense like that and you are not prepared, you look terrible. And we saw it with Texas. Texas played Maryland, and Maryland ran the Wildcat all day long. The Wildcat and the option and the Wildcat. That's all that Maryland ran to so much success, it was obscene. Why? Texas wasn't prepared. Texas wasn't prepared. They gave up 263 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns of rushing. That's not being prepared. Right? And then off of the play action fakes of the option, the Maryland quarterback, Terrell Pigrome, he just threw for 175 yards and 2 more touchdowns. I mean, that's being unprepared. That's being unprepared for an offense that you could prepare for. Because it's not like Texas was in the right places and they were just missing. They weren't in the right places. They weren't in the right zip code of the right places. And offenses like this, and I think the triple option very much falls under this. Options like this, or offenses like this, absolutely make you look like a fool when you're not prepared. So we'll see, right? Because Butch Jones always likes to say that anything that happens with the team starts with the coaching staff, starts with him and works its way down. Fine. I'll grant you that one. I will grant that to you. But I will say this as well. And it's worth noting that people are not going to buy that in a loss. That team better be prepared. And again, Texas laid the blueprint for how stupid you can look when you are not prepared for a team running a specialized offense. You will look awful. You will look bad. Which, by the way, Texas fans mad. They turned on Tom Herman already. I was on a Texas forum online yesterday. Man, we're ready to stuff Tom Herman in a mailbox. Just put a stamp on him, put him in a mailbox, and I don't care what coach comes back in the mail. Don't care. Actually don't care. It's insane. So Tennessee fans, I don't think are as temperamental as Texas fans. I think they're more rational. So I think should Tennessee struggle some tonight, shove Butch Jones in a mailbox. Though there are some people who are like, I'll drive you to the airport. But I expect Tennessee to do well. I feel like Tennessee is going to be more prepared tonight than Texas was 2 days ago. I believe this. Now, something that, you are prepared, I guess, but like how prepared is the answer to that question. If you're Tennessee, who are you starting? Who are you starting at quarterback? Because that's the thing that is the most fascinating storyline to me, is who is Tennessee going to start at quarterback here? I think, and I've said all summer, I think that they should start Dormady. He's the guy with the most experience. He doesn't have the strongest arm or, the best legs, but he is solid quarterback. And for me, I don't think you can replace solid quarterback play. I know that Jared Garantano is the young guy. He's got the big arm. Garantano has a big-time arm, but he's not accurate at all. And I think it's going to take some time before he is. You're going to have to let him get a chance to develop. But he's not accurate. And accuracy is a premium in college football, right? Like college football works more now like the NFL than it ever used to. That it used to be you could build a defense and you could build a great offensive line and have a great running back. And if your quarterback was okay, you could win a title. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think Alabama has the best chance of still being able to do that. And even Alabama doesn't do that anymore. You need a quarterback or your whole operation comes undone. That's just plain and simple. That is fact number one. You don't have a quarterback, your whole operation comes apart. Period. End of story. And so I'm looking at Tennessee and I'm like, you got to go Dormady because Dormady gives you the most stability. Okay. Now, I get this feeling because Butch Jones did mention it. And I don't like it, but I get this feeling like he's going to try and play both guys. Not a big fan of playing both guys. I think you make a decision and you choose. And unless that guy is insanely bad, Like, unless that guy is just terrible to the point where you might lose the game, you leave him in there. Like, otherwise, you leave him in there. Like, if he's just okay, let him be okay. Because when you end up putting things in jeopardy when you're like, okay, now it's time for me to see the other guy. We saw Florida do this already. For the last time, how many times do I have to be proven right about this? How many times do I have to be proven right about this? Unless your guy is playing horribly or gets injured, the guy you start should be the guy who finishes. Felipe Franks was not hurt yesterday, and he wasn't playing poorly. He did have the fumble, but before the fumble, he was playing fine. And one presumes, though I guess you don't know, that he was going to recover from the fumble, which would have been a great lesson for him to learn. Instead, you go with Malik Zaire, who's cold, who's coming into the game. He has no rhythm when he comes into the game, and he didn't play well. And now it's like, okay, now you have to finish the game with Zaire because you can't just flip-flop back to Franks. I think you should have. Like, once it became very apparent early on, like, okay, we're not going to get anything out of Zaire this game. Go back to Franks. Like, I would have done that. Since you already made the mistake of just not being consistent with your quarterback anyway, who was not losing you the game. And there is so much benefit from a guy who does not lose you the game. We all want the playmaker. We don't all have the playmaker. Like, I'm sorry. We don't all have Lamar Jackson. We just don't. Not every squad's got one, and you're trying to find one, but until you do, play the guy that doesn't lose you the game. I feel like that's simple enough. So I hope that Tennessee does that. I feel like Dormity's that guy. But if they feel like Garantano is the guy that does not lose them the game, then you pretty much have an obligation to play that guy the whole game. Like, unless he's not what you thought he was and he is just bad, right? Like, you say you think Garantano's the guy and you throw Garantano out and it's a nightmare, right? Just an unmitigated disaster. Then you can switch out to Dormity and go, okay, look, we put out Garantano. We wanted to see what we had in the kid. Just not getting it done right now. Hopefully he bounces back. Okay. I don't have any problems with that. But there's such a premium on guy that doesn't lose you the game. And this, to me, is the thing, is actually the brilliance of Matt Canada and Ed Orgeron over at LSU, is they've got Danny Etling. And they're cool. Like, it feels like everyone's panicking with their Danny Etling and they're trying to ship that guy away. But you can win games with Danny Etling. Like, you'd love to have the playmaker. But until you find that guy, you better play the guy that doesn't lose you the game. And Danny Etling doesn't lose you games. He ain't winning you nothing, but he ain't losing games. Play that guy. What is so bad about playing that guy? I think Dormity is the more stable option of the two guys. Okay? And Garantano is, look, that guy's got tremendous upside. He's going to be great. Like, when it's his time to go, dude's going to be brilliant. Because, I mean, you just can't teach people to throw the ball the way he throws the ball. Like, he flicks his wrist and the ball's gone 60 yards. Like, you can't teach people that. But Dormity knows how to play right now. And, like, they even in the orange-white game, which was a long time ago, and both guys have probably progressed a ton since then, but you can see that Dormity is by far the more accurate passer. And I will take accuracy over big arm any day of the week. Like, how many big arm guys have we seen be unsuccessful in the SEC? Like, how many of those? Like, a ton, right? Just having a big arm does not help you. Now, if you have a big arm and you're fast, that does something. If you're fast and you're accurate, that does something. But you got to be some combination of something. Like, you can't just be the guy with the strong arm, which I think Garantano is at this point. He's not very accurate. And I think he's quick enough. Like, he's mobile, but he's not fast. I would not describe that guy as fast. No. I think the obvious choice here is Normandy. But Butch Jones has done wonderful things with obvious choices before. So I don't fully trust it. But if you're Tennessee, you want to win this game against Georgia Tech. You do, because next week, you know, you play Indiana State. You really ought to pound that team into powder. And then you play Florida. And honestly, still not sure Florida's good. Still not sure Florida's good. So you win against Georgia Tech and you beat Florida. That SEC East driver's seat is going to look really close. Right? Like it's going to look really, really good for you. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I want to talk a little bit about this because I teased it earlier in the show and just didn't get to it. But, Drew Lock and Missouri. Look, I disagreed early in the year with an article that I read on this show about Drew Lock being the best quarterback in the SEC East. Because I said I think Jacob Eason could be the best quarterback in the SEC East. Yeah, okay. I will take my humble pie. It's not particularly delicious, and I'm not a fan of that particular flavor. But I will take my humble pie, and I will eat it because I was wrong. Drew Lock is a monster. Okay? I mean, absolute monster. Now, I understand they were playing Missouri State, who isn't great. But Drew Lock threw 7 touchdowns on a very efficient day. 21 of 34, 7 touchdowns, 1 INT, 521 yards. Right now, that whole offense was on fire, right? Because they had 294 yards on the ground as well. From Demaria Crockett. I can never pronounce his name right. Demaria Crockett. This is over 800 yards of offense. That's a great day. That's a lights out day. And trust me, that means your special teams and your defense is having quite a day as well. But 7 touchdowns. It's a lot of touchdowns. And it didn't look to be gimmicky. Like it happened in the flow of the game. And Drew Lock's good. And look, I liked a lot of things about this, but Drew Lock is accurate. And when that team gives him time to throw that passes, like that ball, on those passes, it's amazing. It's amazing. And he's amazing. And it looks effortless to him. I don't know if that's something that Missouri can keep up. And that also tells you how wide open and terrible the SEC East is. Because honestly, who's going to win the East? Before today, I feel like you would have locked in Florida or Georgia. Well, Georgia gets the injury to Eason, and Florida just looks incompetent in Michigan. So, who wins the East? I ask you again. Well, you want to say Tennessee. Let's wait until Tennessee plays tonight to say Tennessee because they're the next team up, right? And Kentucky looked good in their game on Saturday, but they look great. I think Kentucky's a real team. I think Kentucky has got just as good a chance to win the East as anybody, which I can't believe I'm saying that, but they clearly have an offense that's pretty productive. But by no means is Missouri somehow out of the picture. If Drew Lock is going to play like that, and by the way, he can't play like that every week. I get it. I'm not crazy. He can't play like that every week. Okay, he's not throwing 7 touchdowns a week. That's Lamar Jackson territory last year when he was playing like a video game. And I believe that Missouri's schedule is a little bit tougher than what Louisville had going on last year. Because Missouri has to play Auburn and Tennessee and Vandy and Arkansas and Georgia. Like Missouri doesn't have like a cakewalk schedule. But yo, that offense is not to be trifled with. That thing that they've got going on in Missouri. And Drew Lock is a legitimate quarterback. And again, these things were not gimmicky. Okay. He wasn't just throwing like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, he's got a bunch of touchdowns and 3 of them were like jet sweeps that we just handed it to a receiver and the guy took off for 1,000,000 yards. No, this guy's making legitimate throws in the middle of a defense. Now, granted, receiving wise, look, they've got a couple of beasts at wide receiver, right? Like Jamon Moore had 187-yard game, 2 touchdowns, and then 116 yards and 2 touchdowns for Jonathan Johnson. Those guys played like big-time receivers, and I can't imagine that they're not going to play like big-time receivers all season long. Like, that's definitely possible for both of those guys to keep up a similar level of at least yardage production game in and game out because they're huge, right? Like, Jonathan Johnson's 5'10", but Jamon Moore's enormous. Or at least he looked enormous, like, next to Missouri State players, right? He's 6'3", 205. He's huge. These, like this offense that Missouri's got, like that's the real deal. Now, I don't know that they can defend anybody, right? Like, again, you give up 43 points to Missouri State. I want to ask what you're doing, but you score 72, and I almost forget. But Missouri is like the Oklahoma State of the SEC. Like, I feel very confident that they can score against anybody. Like, that's the way that I feel about that offense. And he was taking them apart. Taking them apart. Like, I feel very confident about Drew Lock and the way that offense is run. I don't know who they can defend, but if you end up in a shootout with Missouri, I can't be confident you win. I really can't. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So now I've gotten that in there. The star power, by the way, in Atlanta, ridiculous, right? Josh Dobbs in Atlanta supporting Tennessee on the sidelines. Peyton Manning in Atlanta supporting Tennessee on the sidelines. We all knew Manning was going to be there. Calvin Johnson, Megatron, Georgia Tech on the sidelines. A lot of star power. A lot of star power coming out of there. So that's a loaded sideline already. Apparently, Calvin Johnson is in Atlanta giving an impassioned team speech, his alma mater. And also, I think there's another thing that's happening that we all sort of figured would happen, right? Which is Tennessee fans traveled well, right? That apparently, according to Mark Schlabach, the ESPN college football senior writer, Tennessee fans in the building, despite the fact that this game is in the backyard of Georgia Tech. Somehow, I think we all knew this, there's going to be more orange in attendance in that game. This is basically a Tennessee home game. No one's going to see it that way. So it's, if you lose, it doesn't look like you lost a home game. But this is a Tennessee home game. Right? Like, orange showed up. I can't wait for this one. This one is going to be absolutely exciting. I can't wait for all of these storylines to come together because we're going to see what a new offense with Tennessee looks like, right? Because everybody wanted Mike DeBoer gone. They wanted Mike DeBoer gone. Well, Mike DeBoer's gone. You want to see what a Tennessee defense looks like when it's focused and dialed in, right? They're healthy, so you don't get the excuses of injuries. And yes, you're going to be playing the triple option. But if you stay committed in the triple option, if you don't give up the big time play, then guess what? Your defense is going to look really good. Right? And you're playing an opponent that really can't challenge your secondary, which is one place where Tennessee has honestly, truly struggled. Georgia Tech's not going to challenge your secondary but once or twice a game just to see if you're awake. You really shouldn't give up a ton of yardage to that school through the air. And if you stay disciplined on the ground, you really ought to be in this football game. And then if your quarterback doesn't turn it over, I'm not saying this should be a cakewalk. I'm saying Tennessee is the odds-on favorite for a reason. 4-point favorites, though. 4-point favorites, which I think is a little low. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nuga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You've been in a wreck.
756-6400.
You've been wrongfully fired.
756-6400.
A turkey is suing you out of the blue.
756-6400.
Confused about a business startup?
756-6400.
That's the number for you. 756-6400. Right here, right now, Chattanooga. Call now. Top Flight Legal Help awaits. Get biz advice now. Representation to fight for your right. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Don't sit on your rights. You've got remedies. Turn your tragedy into cash. You've got the solution from estate planning all the way to probate. Act now. Top attorneys in Chattanooga are waiting to help you get relief. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win. So win with us.
756-6400.
Call now. Top Flight Legal Help awaits. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Turn your tragedy into cash. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win. So win with us.
756-6400.
756-6400.
The essential oils have been around for thousands of years. They're beneficial because they're natural, they're safe, and they can help you. My name's Loretta Lynn. I'm with Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils, and you can find me on Facebook at Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. If you have migraines, headaches, aches and pains, gout, diabetes, sleep apnea, erectile dysfunction, Essential Oils can help you. Call me today for a free consultation, 423-605-4719. Call me, Loretta Lynn, Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils on Facebook.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate the maze of marketing channels which are necessary in today's marketplace? Are you fed up with spending your time and money on employees who don't perform and marketing strategies that don't produce? Then you need Cindy's Choice. Cindy will solve your marketing problems with their innovative shared marketing management concept that will allow your business to have the benefits of a full-time employee that is actually out building relationships in the community on behalf of your brand. Cindy's low monthly rating
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDG